There were a lot of sad sights on that football field Sunday, my friends. None sadder than watching Cam Heyward try to go out there on a ripped-up groin and realize that he just couldn't do it. Made a U-turn, came back to the sideline. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates, where you found this. Word emanated from South Water Street that Cam's going to have surgery on that groin. That's going to put him on the injured reserve list. That doesn't mean what it used to. For those of you who go way back with your football, that used to mean your season was done. In Cam's case, he can come back after a couple months. And here's hoping, for all kinds of reasons, principally his health, obviously, that he's able to do that. I'm not going to waste anybody's time in pointing out here, at least not elaborating on it, that Cam's leadership will not be missed, because Cam won't go anywhere. He'll be as visible and vocal as ever. He doesn't have another way of operating. But on the field, oh boy. You know, it's one thing to go from Christian McCaffrey gutting you on the ground the way he did over the weekend, and then to look at his stats after the fact and see that 102 yards of all those gutted yards came after contact. After contact. That was a career high, even for him. And you realize what happened here all began on the defensive line. That's not something that requires anybody's detailed film analysis. That's just common sense. If you're breaking through and getting all these yards after somebody's touched you, there's no way you're pulling that off if the defensive line is stout. There just isn't. And what you saw between Cam getting hurt Sunday, DeMarvin Leal hurt his elbow on Sunday, Larry Ogunjobi clearly is still not anywhere near 100%. Not like he's in the neighborhood. He's not anywhere near it. I'm not even sure why he suited up. So there they were out there with Montravius Adams, the starting nose tackle, as I told you guys a couple months ago that he would be. Isaiah Loudermilk was out there a lot, maybe more than he'd expected. Keanu Benton made it onto the field in the second half. And not to be forgotten on the depth chart, but Braden Fehoko is on the practice squad. Could be added with the snap of a finger. Probably will be. But I say this, and as I'm doing so, you're thinking to yourself, okay, yeah, that was McCaffrey, but here comes Nick Chubb, the best running back in the National Football League. Chubb's going to steamroller you for 110, 120, even if you have all your guys, even if you have Cam, Larry. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if Chubb would have been able to do that against the peak Cam and peak Stephon Tuitt up there, with Javon Hargrave in the middle just to really rub it in. That's how good the guy is. But now you're lining up against Cleveland with the entire football world just having watched you get exposed on the ground. 188 total yards for the 49ers. And if you want, you can put some of that on the inside linebackers who weren't great. If you want, you can even throw it on the secondary. I thought the edge rushers, for the most part, did well with sealing the run, but it doesn't matter if you're just going right through the middle. They never even have a chance at you. I asked Montravius after the game Sunday, what has to happen with this group?
Honestly, from listening to coaches, just communication and making sure we detail some things. But for the majority of the things, we'll find out tomorrow. But I'm sure it's just details and communication.
Do you feel like it's something that it's correctable?
Most definitely. You know, don't get me wrong. Like, I feel like they played a good game, but we can clean up the rest.
That's a fair answer. That's a common answer. I know it's not an exciting answer. But that's how these guys think. And it's a big reason why I like sharing some of their responses with you via a recording as opposed to me just paraphrasing them so you can hear it from their own perspectives. They don't see themselves, the members of the Steelers defensive line, as a deficiency. They don't see themselves as lacking depth. For the most part, those guys had a pretty good Latrobe, and they had a pretty good preseason. If your memory can still make it back to that preseason and take anything seriously from it, you'll actually recall a few of these names that I just mentioned popping up in some positive context. It's not a bad group. That said, the young guy who might have impressed the most was Benton, and he absolutely needs to be at the front of the line for getting a shot. I know they have their thing where the veteran's always going to start over the rookie and whatever, but a lot of that's going to get uncovered here in a big hurry. Whether that means Joey Porter Jr. is going to get out there instead of Levi Wallace or Patrick Peterson, whether that means you're going to see Broderick Jones get on the field ahead of Chuks Okorafor or Dan Moore, neither of whom showed all that well in the opener, or whether it's going to be something like this, an injury, an unfortunate injury, maybe a couple injuries, depending on how Leal is. You got to go with the guys who are going to have that ceiling. I know this coach has never liked to think that way. He focuses everything on the game that's in front of him. And as I remember mentioning to you guys around the middle of last season, the one good thing about that 2-6 start was that it forced him into playing guys that he normally wouldn't play in NFL games at that stage of their careers because it could advance them going into this season. And that did happen, to his credit. Well, the Steelers are only 0-1 right now, although I'm sure after that game they probably everybody feels like they're 0-10 or whatever. But if you've got an opportunity here to have a reason to put Benton on the field, meaning no Cam, maybe no Leal, do it. Don't be overthinking this. You know what you're going to get from Adams. I'm not saying that disrespectfully, but his head's hitting the roof, okay? He's not going to get any better. With Benton, you've got a chance to put somebody out there who can rise up into an impact role. And if this past weekend didn't illustrate to everybody painfully enough how much impact is needed on that line, wow, I can't imagine what would. When we come back, J1Q. This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar. The law firm of Edgar Snyder and Associates has joined forces with Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett to make a difference in the community. They're supporting Connecting Champions, a local charity that asks pediatric cancer patients, what's your passion? And connects them to mentors who give these young patients an identity outside of their diagnosis. You can learn more about what Edgar Snyder and Associates and Kenny Pickett are doing in the community by visiting edgarsnyder.com/givingback. Again, that's edgarsnyder.com/givingback. Today's J1Q comes from Kimberly, who rants. DK, I am telling you, Steelers season ticket holders should be ashamed of themselves. They just sell to the highest bidder. They do not show up. There were 1 million 49ers fans here in town, and even the Steelers fans who did come to the stadium just sat and booed. I scream and everyone looks at me like I'm the oddball. I'm telling you, it sucks. All of you who sell your tickets, quit being greedy. Either come to the game or give. Yes, I said give them to a Steelers fan. I am begging you. Kimberly, I both respect and appreciate the sentiment that you're expressing. I felt a lot of that at Acrisure Stadium on Sunday. I felt a lot of that outside the stadium. I felt a lot of that the day before downtown. It was uncomfortable. It was unusual here in Pittsburgh to see that. Now, granted, Steelers fans of all varieties from all different kinds of places do this in other cities, and a lot of folks, myself included, will say, hey, that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. Well, that's fine. That's their city. This is ours. And it's never happened here before. Not on this scale. You won't find anyone who's been around the Steelers for a long time, including inside the Steelers, who'd ever seen anything like that. What happened? What really happened? Again, with a nod to what you're saying, it's always unfair to overgeneralize. When you're talking about the Steelers season ticket holders, not all of them sell their tickets. Not all of them buy them as investments and then sell them, mostly motivated by the significant return. Not all of them eat those tickets. Not all of them live far from Pittsburgh. But there's a problem. There's a real problem. And it begins with the very real fact, not an opinion, that roughly half of the season ticket base lives nowhere near Western Pennsylvania, something I've been talking about on this show for years. Well, it finally came home to roost. Because even with the excitement of the preseason and whatever else, it wasn't enough to get anywhere near enough bodies into the stadium, meaning actual ticket owners, or into Pittsburgh, or to pay for the flight or the hotel or whatever. And rather than sell those tickets or everything that you suggested there, they're just going to keep them because they've had them in the family since World War II or most likely 1972. And by God, they're just not going to let them go, even if they don't go. And from there, the process becomes, it's pretty basic. You know, you just put it on StubHub, somebody buys it, and that's the end of it. You're not checking what jersey they're wearing in their avatar. You don't even know who ended up getting it. You just know that you sold it. So, yeah, the motivation of some season ticket holders stinks. The system really stinks. And although it'll sound like I know a lot about this because I've talked to a lot of people inside the Steelers on this subject, I'm not an expert. I don't have some MBA. I can't put together for you a program that'll satisfy everyone and try to get as many either Pittsburgh Steelers fans or actual Pittsburghers, either one, into the stadium. But that whole thing failed on Sunday because people from the Bay Area, people from Silicon Valley have a lot of money, a lot of disposable income, and there's actually a good many of them who live and work here. And by that, I mean tech people and tech companies who've moved their operations and their lives to Pittsburgh. We have a bunch of them. Just go drive through East Liberty sometime soon, and you'll see what I mean. But they have the cash, they won the StubHub biddings, and they put on their red, and they filled the place up, probably even surprised themselves with the numbers that arrived. Now, do I think that's going to happen for every team? No. There's only one franchise based in a city with that much independent wealth. And I definitely don't think it'll be Cleveland. So try to keep that part in mind as well. But a solution is needed. The Steelers need to get more Pittsburghers, and by that now I'm talking about people who live here, into the stadium. The Steelers need to get, and this is the part that I really want to stress, more younger fans into the stadium. The younger fans who have, I think this is wonderful, so I'm not knocking it, but have fallen in love with hockey. Give them a chance to go in there and see the NFL and see what a great event that is, what a great franchise the Steelers have been for such a long time, right here in their hometown. You talk to kids in their 20s, they'll tell you they've never been to a Steelers game. And they'll walk around with Steelers stuff. That's not okay. That's not okay. I appreciate, again, everything that you said. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Steelers, and we will do another one of these tomorrow.